Hello. In this video, we will be reviewing the Volanté point of sale tabs mode, which is one of the alternative transactional modes we have available for the system. So tabs mode is generally used when we plan to open a transaction and keep the transaction open, where we'll add items at different times and then suspend the transaction. So let's start with our Volanté point of sale. We'll come to our tabs mode and start a tabs transaction. From here, we'll continue with our tabs transaction by suspending and resuming the transaction and adding items as needed until we're ready to complete our transaction with a payment. Some of the examples we may see of tabs mode is a customer may be at the bar getting drinks waiting for a table to open up, or we may have an order set up for a customer who may come by to pick it up later. Your specific location may have other uses for tabs mode based on your processes and procedures. Let's take a look now at the Volanté POS. From our Volanté point of sale splash screen, we can see that I have both cashier mode and tabs mode enabled as transactional modes on my system. Different modes can be enabled based on your setup by our implementation or support team. If you would like to add tabs mode to your system and don't currently use it, please reach out to your project manager or your client success team for additional information and how we can help scope the project for you. Let's take a look at tabs mode first. We access tabs mode in the same way that we would access cashier mode. We'll touch the mode in order to begin, and we'll be prompted to either enter our ID manually or to swipe our card. So let's go ahead and swipe in our cashier card and we'll get started with our system here for today. Once we enter into tabs mode, by default, we may see all listed tabs or we may see only our own tabs. We can switch between tab views by clicking the button in the bottom left to view own or to view all. The top left side of the screen will show which cashier is currently using tabs mode. If you believe there are other systems with open tabs that you're not seeing on the computer that you're working at currently, there may be an issue with the network. Sometimes connectivity or network hiccups may prevent the systems from communicating with each other. You can hit the refresh button in the bottom of the screen in order to query all terminals to see if any open tabs currently exist. As we can see, I do have some open tabs available for me from other machines. The tab listing will show me the name of the tab that was created, who the server was who created the tab, the status of the tab, the start time of the tab, and the pencil icon, when touched, will allow me to edit the tab and add or remove items, as well as to complete payments. If I touch on one of my tabs, I can see transactional information on the left-hand panel. Here I can see the server, the transaction ID, the name of the tab, and any items that have been currently added into it. We can also see the outstanding balance owed. We'll go ahead and create a few new tabs with different methods. Down in the bottom bar of our screen, we have options for new order or auto new order. We'll start with auto new order first, which will create a tab for me with an automatically assigned number. We can see the name of the cashier and the tab number in the top of my screen under my cashier action buttons. The layout of your cashier action buttons may be different from the cashier mode. These buttons are tailored to meet your needs in tabs mode and may include other functionality not seen in standard cashier mode. My menu to the left does behave in the same way as it does in other modes. From here, I can add the items that my customer wishes. Let's go ahead and add in a few items. Options will work as expected. And we can add a few items to our transaction. One of the differences in tabs mode versus standard cashier mode at this time is that we would normally hit exit to suspend our transaction for later. If I do hit total, the expectation is I'm completing this sale at this time and expected to take a payment from my customer. I'll go ahead and hit exit so we can create this tab and put it on suspend. So as we can see, I do have a new tab that I just opened with a default number and information about my transaction, including the items added in. If I choose the New Order button, however, I'm presented with our virtual keypad where I can now type in a name, a number, or any other piece of identifying information that would make sense to my tab and to other cashiers who may wish to access it within my system. I can go ahead and give it a name and start my tab this way. As we can see, the cashier is at the top and the tab named Allison has been created. I'll add an item and just hit exit for now. So we do see I have another tab created here. My New Order button also allows me to choose Touch Here before swiping credit card. Keep in mind, the swiping of the credit card on the terminal MSR is not capturing the card number, expiry date, or security code. We would simply be using this to capture the customer's full name from track data. Let's go ahead and try this. I'll touch our button, and I'm going to swipe a credit card on my MSR. As we can see, my full name has been brought up through the track data on my credit card, and I'll go ahead and choose Enter to create a tab with that name. We'll add an item or more, and then I'll hit my exit button. Keep in mind that any credit card payments must go through a credit PIN pad for security purposes and encryption. This method that we just used is really only to capture the customer's name for the record as we're working on their tab. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we can update our tabs by resuming them. I'll go ahead and pick one of my transactions I've created, and I'll hit the pencil icon to the right. This will open my transaction back up on screen, and as we can see, any items that were previously entered have been committed to this transaction. If I wish to remove a previously added item, it is treated as a void and does require a manager's override. A void reason must be selected as well, and these are all reportable within your Volanté back office. I'll continue to add some more items to my transaction and suspend it again. And I can keep doing this until all items have been added and my customer is ready to complete our transaction with a payment. From here, I have two options. I can print the bill, which will print a copy of the receipt to give to the customer in order to confirm the amount. Let's go ahead and try this first. I'll choose Print Bill, and then I'll choose Exit. As we can see, the status of this particular transaction has now changed to bill status. I can hit the pencil to return to the transaction, and in my case, I'm going to go ahead and take a payment by cash, and I'll complete our transaction. We see our balance has changed to 0, and I'll go ahead and choose Exit. I'm prompted to clear my table. So this is asking me if I'd like to modify, which will let me go back in and continue adding items into the transaction. Maybe the customer would like to purchase a coffee or something before leaving. We can do that at this time. If I exit from that screen after the auto close prompt has appeared, I can see my status is set to paid. This means that this transaction has been completed, but not yet closed. We can see information in here indicating that a payment is no longer required. I can manually close this transaction by choosing the Close Order button at the bottom of the screen. It will ask me if I wish to continue modifying the table or if I wish to clear it at this time. Now the transaction has been fully closed, and we can see the remaining tabs on screen. Another method for completing our payment is to hit our pencil to resume our transaction. Simply hit Total if we don't plan to present a bill, and then taking a payment. In this case, I'll take cash, and we'll close our transaction. I do see both my buttons have switched over to close $sign. This functions the same as my exit, so I'll choose that option, and it's asking me to close. Again, I'll go ahead and clear that table. If I resume a transaction that I did not create, so in this case, we can see a few transactions created by Mark and a few transactions created previously under Allison. I'll go ahead and select this transaction, which was created by another server, and I'll hit the pencil to resume it. While my name does appear here at the top and the tab name as well, I am not the owner of this transaction at this time. I'll go ahead and take a cash payment, so we'll do total, take cash, and I'll go ahead and close it out. I'm prompted with a slightly different closing screen. I can come back in and modify the table if I like, but I do have the choice to either clear the transaction as myself or to clear the transaction as the cashier who started the transaction. This does impact our reconciliation reporting, so based on your internal processes, please choose accordingly. In my case, I'll choose myself, and we can see the transaction has been closed. Let's take a look at some of the other buttons available to us on the bottom of the screen. The Tab to Table button will move my tab into a table. If your site is using tables mode, this is an available function to take somebody from, let's say, a bar and move them to a seat when one becomes available. And in tables mode, there's a like type of setting to allow moving from a table into a tab. In our case, we'll cover tab to table in a different video. I can choose to close an order manually. However, if a balance is remaining, it will try to default it to cash. So let's see what happens. Make any remaining balance as cash payment and close. So at this point, if I choose yes, it will complete that tab and close it, but it will take cash. If you're taking any other payment method, credit, gift card, or on account payment, then this will not reconcile at the end of the day correctly, and you may have a misbalance of cash. So in my case, I'll choose no. I generally only choose the close order if my status has already been changed into paid, as we saw previously. Some of the other functions I can do include my View Options button. If I choose this, I do have an option to rename the tab. If I do not like the name that was given previously, I can change the name. You can see my tab is changed to a different name. This is handy for searchability. Maybe I've taken the wrong name of a customer, or if I'm putting down something like a room number or a phone number, I could also make a correction at this time. Do keep in mind that any number or name I put into this field has no direct connection to the customer database. We'll take a look at one of those transactions in a few moments. Under my View Options, I also have the option to print or reprint this particular transaction, or to open the cash drawer, which, as always, does require a manager's override. As we're not taking credit card numbers at this time, we will not be sorting by credit card authorization, and we will not be closing paid tables. I also have the ability to search for transactions. So if my tab screen has multiple pages of open tabs and I'm looking for one particular user, I may choose the search button, and I can search by name, which is the name column, the server column, the status column, our start time, or other transactional IDs. So if I search for name and start typing in Henry and do enter, it will show me any of the tabs that have that partial search available within them. If I'd like to clear this, I'll hit View Own and View All, and it puts me back to the full listing of tabs. If I'm looking for additional information, for example, if I type in 00, I'm going to see both of the tabs that meet that criteria here. Again, I'll just do View Own and View All to see everything again. One of the last functions I have available as a bottom button is to transfer to a different server. So as the server logged in Mark, maybe I'd like to transfer this to Allison. I'll go ahead and choose Transfer to Server. This function requires a manager override, so we'll go ahead and type in our manager number, and we'll give it a moment as it's querying the system for any open applicable transactions that we might be able to move to another user. As it's going to the back office in the cloud, it may take a few moments for this to take place. I'm now able to choose one or more of the open tabs that I wish to transfer to another cashier. So I'll go ahead and choose to transfer. It asks me to enter the server ID. So at this time, the server who will be taking over my tabs should either swipe their card or enter their number. If they're not here currently, I may choose the override, log in as a manager, and find them from the available list in this way. So I'll go ahead and just cancel that for a moment. I'll hit transfer again, and we'll go ahead and put in our cashier number. As we can see, both of these transactions here that I selected have now been moved from Mark to Allison. Let's take a look now at how we might set up a tab if we're trying to link it to somebody within our customer database. I'm going to go ahead and choose New Order. And at this time, what I would do is type in the name or the room number of the applicable user that I would like to match this up with. Keeping in mind this is just a name and we are not actually linking this to the user in the customer database. We're using it as a reference point in order to look things up more easily using our tabs listing search. So let's say one of my residents, Gladys, is going to be ordering some food to pick up in a little bit. I'll go ahead and put in Gladys and hit enter. So I've created a tab name called Gladys, but now I'd like to put her into this transaction. So normally at this point, if she's using an RFID card or fob, I might tap it. I can also search for our customers within the customer database, and we'll go ahead and type in her name using our virtual keypad. I've found Gladys, and I'll go ahead and say OK. So now Gladys is in the transaction, and I would continue through with my open tab the same way as I've been working on throughout our session today. And I'll go ahead and choose exit. So I have a transaction opened for Gladys. Maybe I'd like to use her name, a room number, phone number, anything in this field. Again, that makes it easy for you and your team to search by. I can see the items that have been entered for her, as well as existing balances. And if she's on account payments, we can see account balances generally if enabled. I'll go ahead and hit the pencil to resume my transaction, and I would complete it as normal. I'll go ahead and choose to either print her a bill, or I can go straight to on account, take a payment. We see our balance has changed to 0. If we like, we can always go into our payment screen and confirm that yes, she was billed to her account. We'll choose done and exit. And I do have the option to clear the table. Again, if I choose modify, it will not auto close the table for me. It brings me back to the screen. And when I exit it, it comes to a paid view, which I can now use my close order button. I do not get the prompt to close as cash because there is no balance remaining. I'll choose to clear this transaction. I do have a few open transactions here that I might want to close out. This screen is important to come to as a manager, as open tabs at the end of the day may prevent your close day from running successfully. So normally, we would hit our pencil and resume them. Let's say this particular tab we have open for Henry, we can't pay out. Maybe Henry's no longer here, has left the area, we didn't take a payment. I may have to void. So often we can touch an item and choose to void the item. And depending on your setup under More Option, you may have a Void All button. This does require a manager's override as well as a reason code. I have now voided everything. I'm going to choose to exit. And while this transaction is open, and I do have an audit log showing the voiding that took place, I can go ahead and close this order. There is another screen available to you in order to view all open tabs within your system. We'll go ahead and choose exit for now. And we're going to come to the admin screen and we'll go in as the admin. I can choose the transaction checker button, which may be located in a different position in your admin screen. And it's asking me to enter a server ID. I'll go ahead and duplicate my admin number. I can choose a start date by selecting the month, the day, the year, and using the arrows on screen to increment. I'll go ahead and leave it where it is for now. And I do have a date in the future. This will encompass quite a large range of dates, and I can check for any open transactions this way that have been opened in tabs or in tables mode. And I'll choose yes. This will take a moment, and it will search the back office and bring me up all of the tabs. Similar buttons exist. I've got my View Own and View All button. I can refresh to resync with all terminals if I think anything is missing. I can touch on a transaction and choose to show details, which gives me additional auditing information. It shows me which machine that the transaction was run on, the date and time, who the server was, and additional information as well. If I choose to close the order from this screen, similar to the tabs screen, it will try to close it as cash. I may not want to do that if I'm not actually taking a payment from a person, and I'm going to go ahead and hit no. I will choose to pencil, resume the transaction, void out any items that were remaining in the transaction. I could hit total and close as well, or just exit and choose the close button. Because this is a transaction I am closing as an admin, and again, this would be your account with a POS admin cashier job type or higher, or I can close it as the originating cashier. Again, up to your policy. We'll go ahead and close out that transaction. There is another way to force void out transactions, which is with the force void button. However, this particular button can only be used by the Volanté support team and does require the Volanté support code in order to continue. I'll go ahead and hide the details. We do have additional options available to us under the View Options button, so I can rename it. I can close any paid tables. So if many of your statuses are set to paid, you don't have to click on each one and close order for one by one. You can actually choose Close Paid Tables, and it will close multiples. Let's see what that looks like. We'll touch this transaction. I'm going to go ahead and take cash, and I'll exit. And we'll just, again, duplicate our process where we should hopefully see paid appear on some of these. I'll do the same for one of the other ones. Take cash, and we'll exit. Modify, and exit. Let's refresh. Do have two of my transactions now that are set to paid mode. You can confirm that they've been paid. There's no balance remaining. I could now choose my view options and close paid tables. And it's going to close out any tables that were left in paid mode. As we can see, I'll hit the refresh button and those tabs should be gone now. And they are. I'll hit exit and we're going to come back to our admin screen as there's one other piece of information that will update based on the use of tabs mode, and that's in your end of day reporting. Part of your end of day reports contain a head count report, which normally will show you transactions taking place in cashier mode. I'll choose the Manage Your End of Day button and pick my date range. I have not yet run a Manage Your End of Day. I have not closed my store, so any of my Z readings or Z readings will be zeros as I haven't closed yet. I'll choose OK, however, to start my report. This does take a few moments as it's querying the cloud server for all information from all terminals. Our report will appear on screen and it gives us the ability to print to one of our receipt printers on our terminal. We'll get our cash count and reconciliation information, item level sales, and more based on our closed day report setup. The report we're looking for in here is related to our headcount report, which is this report here. We can see however many transactions have been run in different modes available to us on the Volanté system. Today I've run 23 transactions in cashier mode for 127.38 with an average amount of 554. I've run 11 transactions in tabs mode today for 148.87 with an average transactional amount of 13.53. I also had one table transaction run today. So if you do see tabs listed in here, it really is just a differentiator between the transactions you may have run in cashier mode versus tabs mode. So I could print my report. I'll go ahead and close it this time, and we'll hit close. As mentioned before, if you're investigating using tabs mode at your location, please do reach out to your client success manager or your project manager for further assistance in scoping the project to your specific needs. Thank you for watching our video today, and please look to our YouTube channel for additional information and videos to help you with the Volanté system.